young man.
Hello everybody, welcome to Tour Talk for the week of March 22nd through March 28th. This has been a big week in the sport of bass fishing. First of all, we actually have got 2 weeks kind of crammed into one here. We were tracking the BASS Elite Series event at Pickwick Lake. As you well know, that event was delayed 2 days. That pushed into the middle of the next week. And so rather than do two episodes, we decided to cram it all into one action-packed event. We are covering the BASS Elite Series event at Pickwick Lake this week, the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour at Sam Rayburn, Major League Fishing Toyota Series Southern Division at the Harris Chain, Major League Fishing Toyota Series Southwest Division at Lake Texoma, and the Wild West Bass Tournament Trail at the California Delta. We've also got a special guest this week. We've got Matt Becker. He just fished the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event at Sam Rayburn. It was the first time he'd ever fished this format. He's going to have a lot of good insight and can hardly wait to talk to him about all that. The BASS Elite Series event at Lake Pickwick did not disappoint. It took them a couple of days to get it started. High water and high winds forced the postponement of day one at Pickwick. Day two, the water was still high and they needed to postpone it as well. Tennessee Valley Authority did a really good job. They've got to keep the water levels in the various pools of the Tennessee River in the right place. You've got some lakes that have a lot of homes on the banks of these lakes, and to keep the water moving, to keep it in the right elevations with as much rain as they've been getting, was quite a masterful job. It did force BASS Elite Series event to get pushed to a Saturday start. Now usually Saturday is the third day of the event, but Thursday and Friday had to be canceled, pushed to a Saturday start. Congratulations to Bill Lowen. Bill Lowen gets the job done. He a four-day total of 83 pounds 5 ounces. He wins $100,000. Lowen had 21-3 on his first day, 23-13 day 2, day 3 17-10, and he came on strong day 4 with 20-11. If you watched it live, you saw him catch an 8-pounder mid-morning that really helped his limit. Boy, he was tied with Chad Pipkins going into day 4, and when that event started on day 4, he did not have it going. The water level had fallen where he was fishing, and he had to go and relocate fish, and it was a struggle for him. He had, by his own admission, he had some 2-pounders in the well, but that 5th fish was an 8-pounder. Caught another one later on that allowed him to cull up about 1 pound, and what a great win for a great person. So good to see Bill Lowen on the winning side. 83 pounds 5 ounces to win his first BASS Elite Series Blue Trophy. Brock Mosley finished second with 80 pounds 11 ounces. Corey Johnson finished third with 79 pounds. Steve Kennedy, boy, that guy, Steve Kennedy is always near the top. Steve Kennedy finishes 4th in this event with 77 pounds 4 ounces. And Hank Cherry finishes 5th with 73 pounds 11 ounces. Great tournament. Good job for all those guys. Take a quick look at the BASS Elite Series Angler of the Year standings. After 3 events, Patrick Walters leads that tour with 264 points. Seth Feider is in second with 246. Brandon Polinick in third with 245. Greg Hackney in fourth, 242. And Brian New, the rookie, Brian New in fifth with 239 points. Our next event that we're looking at this week was the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event that took place at Sam Rayburn. And boy, that event did not disappoint either. Now, if you're familiar with the format, if you're not familiar with the format, they fish a preliminary round. Half the field, 40 anglers, fishes on day 1 and day 3. The other half of the field, another 40 anglers, fishes day 2 and day 4. And they try to create a top 40 for that knockout run. Actually, a top 38, because the winners of each pool get into the knockout round on their own. So you got the fifth day, you got 38 anglers going out there to try to make 8 spots. Really, really exciting. You add a score tracker to all that. So much tension, so much anxiety. So fun for the fans to watch, but and probably tough for the anglers. But anyway, that all culminates on the final day when 10 anglers start out. Their weights are zeroed and they get after it. And what an amazing event. Congratulations to Ott Defoe. Ott Defoe wins that event with 30 pounds, 2 ounces. Now, Ott jumped out to a big lead in the first period. If you're, again, Major League Fishing fishes 3 2.5 hour periods. And Ott Defoe jumped out to a big lead in that first period, but he zeroed in period 2. And the first hour and a half of period 3 could not get a fish to bite. And so while he had moved to quite a lead, he had a 10-pound lead at one point in that first period. But as he struggled, other anglers started to find their fish, and Luke Clausen and Gerald Spohr and Justin Lucas and Tommy Biffle closed the gap. And that last 30 minutes, you had actually Luke Clausen actually took the lead that last 30 minutes. And you had Luke Clausen and you had Justin Lucas and you had Gerald Spohr all battling out. And at the very end, Ott Defoe catches a couple of small keepers in that 2-pound range and is able to get himself into back up into that top spot. He wins with 30 pounds, 2 ounces. Luke Clausen finishes second with 27 pounds, 5 ounces for 9 fish. Gerald Spohr finishes third with 26 pounds, 8 ounces with 9 fish. Tommy Biffle, doing it the Tommy Biffle way, caught 9 fish on that last day, 20 pounds, 3 ounces. And Justin Lucas finishes fifth with 20 pounds even for 6 fish. Major League Fishing, they always do things a little bit differently. Rather than having a length limit, they have a weight limit. Those fish have to weigh 2 pounds, at least in this event. They had to weigh 2 pounds to be scoreable fish. And the number of 1 pound, 15 ounce bass that had to be thrown back. If you haven't caught a 1 pound, 15 ounce bass, they hit hard. They got big heads. They fight hard all the way to the boat. But when you get them up behind the boat, it's like they shrink. And if they're not 2 pounds, they go back and they don't count. So, and there were a lot of fish in that last 30 minutes or so that were 115s that didn't count. Really exciting event. Congratulations again to Ott Defoe on a great win. That's going to be a fun tour to watch this year. Our next event that we'll talk about today took place on March 16th, the week of March 16th. It a Major League Fishing Toyota Series Southern event that took place at the Harris Chain. Congratulations to Jordan Tompkins. Jordan Tompkins weighs in 15 fish for 65 pounds over 3 days. He had a killer, monster, 31-pound, 6-ounce bag on day 1. What a mammoth bag of fish that was. And a couple of average bags the rest of the way, a 15 pound, 7 ounces on day 2 and 18 pounds on day 3 to weigh 65 pounds on the nose and to win the event going away by almost 13 pounds. Finishing second in that event is Willie Dennison. He weighs in 52 pounds, 8 ounces over the course of 3 days. In third is Steve Eastman. Stephen Eastman finishes third with 50 pounds, 1 ounce. Michael Conley finishes fourth with 48 pounds, 1 ounce. And in fifth place, Jeffrey Harper finishes fifth, 15 fish, 48 pounds, 1 ounce. That's at the Harris Chain Toyota Series Southern event. We also had a Major League Fishing Toyota Series event take place at Lake Texoma. This was event number 2 on the Southwestern Division this year. It took place this past week, March 25th through 27th. Congratulations to Evan Barnes, who weighs in 14 fish for 42 pounds, 10 ounces over the course of 3 days. Coming in second is Cameron Madison. He weighs in 15 fish for 39 pounds, 7 ounces. Billy Klein finishes third with 38 pounds, 10 ounces only 13 fish. In fourth place, Christopher Temple. He finishes fourth with 35 pounds with only 11 fish. And in fifth place, Blake Schroeder. He weighs in 33 pounds, 1 ounce with 12 fish over the course of 3 days. Tough event down there at Lake Texoma. Congratulations to these guys for doing as well as they did. Evan Barnes is a first-time winner on the Toyota Series. And all these points, of course, add up. Not only do they go to the Toyota Series points in that Southwestern division, but these are also points that go towards the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year standings as well. And finally, we finish up in the West with a Wild West Bass Tour event at the California Delta. This is event number 2. First one took place in January at Lake Shasta, but this event at the California Delta, congratulations to Harvey Pulliam, who weighed in 66 pounds, 66.94 pounds over the course of 3 days. Now, Wild West Bass Tour weighs their tournaments in hundreds of pounds. Some of the events that they fish are so close that to avoid ties, they do their measurements in hundredths of a pound. Now, let's listen to this. We'll go through the top 6 in this event because these are some mammoth weights. 3-day event, okay, at the California Delta. Harvey Pulliam wins with 66 pounds, 66.94 pounds. His day 1 was a 27.29 bag anchored by a 7.18 pound largemouth. All right. Finishing second is Logan Huntz. Logan Huntz weighs 66 pounds, 66.92 pounds. So 0.02 separates first from second. Pulliam with 66.94, Huntz 66.92. It's a close tournament. 0.02 of a pound. Wow. Huntz had an 8-pounder over the course of his 3 days. Vince Bernal finishes third. He weighs in 62.37 pounds. His big fish for the week was 6.42. Obidi Williams finishes fourth with 60.19. These are 20-pound average bags. The top 4, 20-pound average for it. Obidi Williams weighs 60.19 for his 3 days of fishing. In fifth, John Pearl finishes fifth with 58.68, including a 10.58 monster that he caught on day 1 when he weighed 25.45 pounds. And sixth place, Carl Parks finishes with 57.58, anchored by a 7.25 pound bass. Some big fish caught at the Delta this past week. They hit it at the right time. The fish were moving, the fish were eating, and the big girls came out to play, that's for sure. But how about that top 4? You had to average 20 pounds a day just to be in the top 4. That is a killer event. Folks, we're very fortunate now to have a special guest on Tour Talk this week. Matt Becker just finished fishing at the Sam Rayburn Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event. He had a special invite, and we're going to pick his brain about what he experienced in that event. Our guest is in the midst of his 4th season on the Major League Fishing's Big 5 Pro Circuit. He's earned over $300,000 with a Toyota Series win and 8 top 10s. He's the 2018 Major League Fishing Big 5 Pro Circuit Rookie of the Year. He's an active content creator on YouTube. You can follow him on Instagram you can follow him on Instagram at Matt Becker Fishing. He's also just finished his first event on the Bass Pro Tour. Matt Becker, welcome to Tour Talk. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, no, thanks for having me. I absolutely love bass fishing, talking fishing, everything about it. So anytime I got the chance to talk some fishing with you, I'm all for it.
You've fished primarily on the Major League Fishing side of the pro tours. Tell us, how did you get your start in the sport, and how did it become when did it become a full-time profession for you?
Yeah, so my dad had me fishing before I can even remember. I don't ever remember not fishing, and we were always in a smaller family-oriented club. And that was kind of related to Bassmaster, like the Bass Nation side of things. And once I turned about 16, I got into the Bass Nation in Pennsylvania and was fishing those. And I kind of got stuck in this cycle where you'd fish all season, qualify for the state team, go to the regional, and finish second in the regional and not be able to move on to nationals. And I got really frustrated with that system. So I kind of quit doing that. And in 2016, I started fishing the BFL circuit. Decided that I was going to, go the FLW route. At that time, it was FLW. So I decided I was going to put all my eggs in those basket and I'll start in the BFLs and see how that goes, and then work my way up to the now Toyota series, and then ideally to the tour. And at that time, I didn't really think it would be a 1-year process for each step, but that's actually how it worked out. I fished 1 year in the BFLs and had moderate success. And the next year I decided to jump into the Costa series, what it was called then. It's now the Toyota series. And fished 1 year in them and was fortunate enough to win the second event I fished and had 2 other solid finishes. And that gave me enough points to qualify for the tour. And I was like, well, I'm just going to climb right up the ladder and jumped into the tour the following year. So it was a really quick process, but it worked out pretty well in the end.
So you basically had to work your way into it. I know there have been exemptions and things like that, and things that some people have used to get under the tour, but you came through you did it the hard way.
Yeah, and that was how I wanted to do it. Honestly, it was kind of a pride thing where I wanted to start at the BFL level, and they took the top 40 in the points in the BFL level and gave them what they called priority entry into the Costa series. And I wanted to start at the bottom and work my way up. Like I said, I didn't really plan on it being a 1-year jump from each level, but that's just how it worked out for me. But I wanted that just as a pride thing to say, I started here, qualified for the next level, qualified for the next level, and then qualified for the next level. Like I didn't want to just jump ahead of myself. I wanted to actually go through the steps.
Was being a Bass pro always kind of on the horizon? Did you prepare yourself like academically to do this, or what when did you, I mean, like, was that the plan all along to get to the professional level?
Yes and no. Always growing up, but it was a dream of mine, but it was kind of like, hey, like this could happen, but it's not probably realistic. It was kind of like just a dream at that point. And then, about when I turned 18, graduated high school, I was working for a company, and they actually really helped me out at the time, and gave me a full-time job, paid me well, and allowed me to keep fishing on the weekend. They kind of took me in as family, and that was a big help to me, because it was at that point where I decided, like, hey, I can put all this time and money into fishing and try and make it. And if it doesn't work out, then I still got my whole life, So sort of got into the working right out of high school, and did not go to college, or did not, set myself up academically for the marketing side of the fishing world. I really haven't learned a whole lot about that until the last few years, honestly.
Okay. Well, I mean, you certainly seem to have done a lot in the short amount of time that you were there. Now, this past week, you fished the Bass Pro Tour event down at Sam Rayburn. I know that Major League Fishing is cultivating anglers to get them to that level. Number one, how did you get picked to do that? And what was that like?
Yeah. So to start, how I qualified for that event was through the points in our 2020 season. So they had 5 anglers drop out of their Bass Pro Tour roster from 2020 going into 2021. So they were short 5 anglers. They decided to invite John Cox, which is a superstar of the sport. So they added him to the roster. And then with the other 4 spots, they decided to bring up 4 anglers from the pro circuit, and they're going to use the standings from last year and the Angler of the Year standings for the first event. That's the one I just fished. And then going forward, they're taking the results from pro circuit event number 1 and taking the top 4 pro circuit anglers and qualifying them to the second Bass Pro Tour event. So they're going to do that throughout the whole season, so that, 4 different, well, I guess it could be the same guys, but 4 pro circuit anglers from each of our events are going to get invited up to the next Bass Pro Tour event.
Now, is there a point where a pro circuit guy gets a permanent position in that Bass Pro Tour?
Correct. Yes, that's after this season. They're taking the top 10 in the points.
Top 10.
So when they started the Bass Pro Tour, they had 3-year contracts just to get everything rolling.
Right.
They wanted, everyone to stay put for 3 years. So that 3 years is up after this season, and they're going to take 10 up and 10 down every year from now on is how it's supposed to work.
Wow. Yeah. And, there's some big names that may end up getting bumped at the end of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah. Wow. Pretty cool. Now, so how was it having a 2-pound minimum as opposed to a 13 or 14 inch limit on fish? That was bizarre. The number of 1 pound, 15 ounce fish that guys were catching, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and they're trying to hold themselves at a higher standard. Whatever the body of water is they go to, they're trying to take the minimum length limit and then up it to a weight limit. So if the average length limit was 15 inches, a 15-inch fish still only weighs 1.8 or 110. So a 2-pound minimum is up in the bar on the minimum fish to catch. And, it doesn't exactly change it in certain bodies of water, but the one I just fished at Sam Rayburn, it certainly did, because there were so many fish that are, above 110, but below 2 pounds. And, it was a constant cycle of catching those and hoping and praying that it would just touch 2 pounds to score.
Seemed like a lot of really, really active males in this event. Just look at that 2-pound number. So many guys having to throw those. I mean, they look like on camera, they look like good fish.
Yeah. And every time you hook one, you're like, oh yeah, there he is. And then he gets smaller on the way of the boat. And just shy of that 2-pound mark. You even try reweighing him a couple times and it still doesn't work. But yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. It puts a little more strategy into the game for sure when, you have to target those bigger than average fish.
Have you got much experience on Sam Rayburn?
I've been there the last 3 years now. We've had 2 pro circuit events there, in 2019 and 2020. So I have been there those 2 times, and I've enjoyed it all 3 times now. I finished right around the same place in all of them. I had a 20th place last year, and I think a 32nd maybe my first year in 2019, and then a 25th this year. I kind of like some Sam Rayburn.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, score tracker, good thing or bad thing?
It's both, depending on what end you're on it. When you're having a bad day and everyone else is catching them, it's a horrible thing because it gets in your head and you start spinning out a little bit. But whenever you're doing well, it's a great thing because it's a big confidence boost, and it's a sign that you're doing the right thing. You're like, yeah, I know I'm doing well. No one else is doing better than me, so I'm doing the right thing, and I'm going to keep doing it. I experienced both sides of it at Sam Rayburn, especially the first day. I had started on a spot where I thought I could catch a couple scorables really quick, and it turned out all I caught was non-scorables. So I think, a half hour or 45 minutes gone by, and my official hit me with a score tracker update, and there was like 15 people who had already caught a bass, and I was like, uh-oh, I got to do something here before I fall too far behind. So I made a little adjustment, because I knew what was going on with the score tracker, and I caught 2 or 3 fish real quick, and it bumped me all the way up to third place. And then I was like, well, now I know I'm doing the right thing, so I can stick with that for the rest of the day. So yeah, it was really cool, and I like it. I love the score tracker. I love knowing what's going on.
I think from a fan, which I mean, we all are, but from a fan standpoint, it is very hard to beat that last 30 minutes of the championship day. What we witnessed with Ottifo and Justin Lucas and all those guys that were just like, battling all the way down. And man, there were some 115s caught in that last 30 minutes that could have made a big difference.
I know. And yeah, for sure. And like you said, it's way more exciting for the fans. I would say it's definitely the future, looking back in, maybe 15 years ago, whenever you would have a weigh-in, before all this live coverage, there was kind of a mystery. So you didn't really know what people had or who was going to win. But nowadays, if you go to a 5-fish tournament and watch the weigh-in, there's been live coverage all day, and you pretty much know who's going to win already. But with that score tracker, it goes down to the last minute. So it's very exciting and, keeps the fans engaged because you have to watch it. And, someone could catch a big fish in the last 2 minutes and jump them up and win the tournament. So it's a lot of fun, and it's very entertaining.
Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. You create a lot of content on YouTube, and I just feel like it just seems like this sport has become a big aspect of what being a professional bass fisherman is these days, is being able to create that kind of content. Do you find that is something that sponsors expect from anglers now, as opposed to it maybe just being a benefit? Maybe a couple of years ago, it might have been something that might have caught somebody's attention. Hey, that's pretty cool. But now, do you find that it's something that is expected by sponsors?
Yeah, pretty much. It's expected to have strong social media, and, YouTube content is pretty much included in that now. Maybe not if you're in, the top 1% of the industry. The top guys, they really don't have to do any of that because they're already selling product, just, having their name on it. But, for the majority of the professionals out there, yes, it is expected, and it is very important to, help sell product and help get your name out there and, help promote those sponsors.
You do your own editing, or do you have someone help you with that?
Nope, I do everything myself.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting thing to have been around the sport as long as I have, and to kind of watch how this is shifting. It's pretty interesting. Now, you've got 40,000 followers on Instagram. That has to capture a lot of attention. I would think that potential sponsors would look at that with a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very important. And if I had one piece of advice for anyone getting into the industry, it would definitely be focus on building your social media platform as well as honing in your fishing skills. Because then at that point, the sponsors flock to those types of things more so than you just reaching out to them. But yeah, the social media is key. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort into them, trying to grow them when I was getting started.
Yep. Yeah. And by the same token, I think it also gives you quite a bit of bargaining power if you walk into a meeting like that, to be able to say, hey, it's me and my 40,000, loyal followers.
Absolutely. And then you have some data that says, each post gets this amount of impressions. I'm putting this product in front of this many eyes on a daily basis. So yeah, it definitely gives me some bargaining power and, some reasoning behind whatever I'm asking for.
You're one of the pros in this country that fishes a lot of events. Everybody's got their thing. There are some that fish one single tour. There are some that just go out and fish as many as they can. I think I was counting. I think you fished 5, what I would call major tournaments so far this season. Is that your philosophy, to try to fish as many as possible, or are you looking just to be in one area?
Well, I definitely don't fish as many as possible, but I do like to fish. I do enjoy a little bit of downtime, travel a little bit, see some things and hang out with the girlfriend. But Definitely, I like to fish as many tournaments as fits into my schedule. You know, that's what I do for a living. I need to fish tournaments to make money. So, um, and I just like fishing and learning and experiencing new bodies of water, and that's how you grow as an angler. So, yeah, I always try and mix in a few new bodies of water each year. You know, maybe a southern division or a southwestern division, whatever it may be, just to try and get some new fisheries and learn some new things.
So you've got Bass Pro, you got the Big Five Bass Pro circuit. You have you got to fish the Bass Pro Tour at Rayburn. Which Toyota Series circuits are you fishing?
So I'm doing the entirety of the northern division. I fished the first of the southern division, and I might mix in one or two more. But I think all in all, I had 13 or 14 tournaments on the schedule for the year.
That's a healthy schedule. You'll be busy.
Yeah, it keeps me busy for sure, you know. But I love it, you know. I absolutely love it. So,
well, what's next for you? What's happening in the next month for Matt Becker?
well, I'm currently actually at Lake Murray right now doing just a little pre-practice scouting trip, kind of on my way home from Texas. You know, it was about a 20-hour drive home from Rayburn, so I decided to make a little pit stop over to South Carolina. So I'm going to do that here this week, and then I'm going to head back to Pittsburgh, head back home for a little bit, and spend about a week or two home, do a little relaxing, get a little fun vacation trip in before the next tournament is in middle of April back here on Lake Murray.
Okay, well, Matt Becker, I sure appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. It's good to meet you, and we'll look forward to seeing you out there and talking to you again real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me. Anytime you need someone to talk some fishing, I'm available. I'll make some time for you. So, yeah, appreciate you reaching out, and good talking with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Folks, here's a special message from Tacticam.
Hey everyone, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Hunter Shock here, and I want to give you a few tips on how I utilize my Tacticam fisheye camera. And you know, I love being able to document my fishing trips, my fishing tournaments, stuff like that, being able to utilize this awesome camera. Probably the number one question I get is, what kind of card do you use? What size of card do you use to make your camera last all day? And for me personally, for the past couple of years, I've used the 128 gigabyte Lexar high speed write. It's a good SD card that can last basically up to 8 hours when you're using, you know, 1080 60 frames per second. That's what I utilize for the Tacticam fisheye. I shoot in 1080 60 frames per second, and that's going to let me get all of my fishing day in basically. And the other thing that I get is, how do you keep your camera running all day? You know, how many batteries do you have? And really the best thing that I do is, you know, there's awesome features of the fisheye, the looping and all kinds of different features that you can, you know, capture your fishing. But when I'm on the water and I'm in tournament mode, I don't want to have to think about this, and that's what makes it so great. I hardwire this in, just use the charging cable that comes with it. I plug it right into my boat, has a USB port, and so then it's running all day. I hit it in the morning, and this is capturing all the footage throughout the entire day. So I hope these tips help you. Get you a Tacticam fisheye, and you know, go capture all those catches. You don't want to be the one at the boat ramp at the end of the day telling a story. You want to be the one showing it to everybody because you got it on this.
Okay, it's time to update our Bass 2 Anglers podcast year-to-date standings for our Angler of the Year that we have been following throughout the season. Several events have been added to the total now. Dakota Hebert is still leading. He's fished 6 events so far this season, and he has totaled 367 points, and he's got a fairly comfortable lead in the overall Angler of the Year standings for the Bass 2 Anglers podcast. Not to say that he can't be caught. There's a lot of guys out there that are fishing a lot of events. You got Matt Becker, who's fishing a lot of events. You've got certainly John Cox, who's fishing a lot of events. Zach Burge, who's in our top 10 this week, is fishing a lot of events. So there's no such thing as a comfortable lead in the Bass 2 Anglers podcast Angler of the Year standing. But Dakota has been there for several weeks now, and with 367 points, he is setting the pace. Up in second place this week is Dickie Newberry. Dickie Newberry's fishing a lot of Toyota Series events, and he was number 2 for a while and then kind of dropped down, but he's right back up there in the number 2 spot again. This week he's got 229 points. Josh Weaver is in third with 228 points. Zach Burge, there's that name we were just talking about. Zach Burge has fished 7 events already this season. He is really out there fishing a lot of events. Zach Burge is in fourth with 226 points. Patrick Walters, the BASS Elite Series Angler of the Year leader, is in 5th place. He's fished 4 events. He's got 223 points. Jacob Wall, getting it done. He's only fished 3 events, but he's done very well on these 3 events. He's got 201 points. He is in 6th place. Christian Greco is in 7th with 196 points. Greg Hackney, that's a familiar name. He's fished 4 events. He is in 8th place with 192 points. Keith Coombs and Brian Schmidt are tied for 9th, each with 190 points. Coombs has, Schmidt has caught a few more fish than Coombs. That would give him the nod. That's where our tiebreaker is. If you're not familiar with the Bass 2 Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year, we are looking at all the tours that the top pros in this country fish. The top pro events would be Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour and BASS Elite Series event. Those anglers don't just fish those tours, they fish in a lot of different tours. So wherever these guys fish, we cover these events. We've got 63 events all told that we're looking at. We've got through about a quarter of the schedule so far, and it's a lot of fun. We're seeing a lot of things. Go to our website, Bass 2 Anglers Podcast, and you can take a look at the standings. You can read the scoring criteria. You can find out all about it. It's Bass Tour Anglers Podcast, and that's BassTourAnglers.com is the website. BassTourAnglers.com is the website. Well, all right, we're finishing up this edition of Tour Talk, looking ahead at the week to come. We've got a Major League Fishing Big 5 Toyota Series Central Division event at Dale Hollow in Tennessee. I know Dakota Hebert is fishing that event. I just talked to him this week, so I know he's up there getting ready to fish. So we'll look forward to seeing how he does in that event. There was also a BASS Central Open at Smith Lake, but that has been postponed until October due to high water. They have had some unbelievable storms in that Alabama region, and there's just too much debris in the water. It's not safe. The ramps are flooded, and you got to have ramps to launch boats. Well, all right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us on Tour Talk this week. A lot of exciting things coming up. Make sure that you go to the website BassTourAnglers.com to see all of our content and to take a look at the Bass 2 Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year standings. I'm your host, Keith Neiswanger. We'll talk to you again next week.